In a quiet and forgotten village called Umwagu, nestled beside a wide, whispering river, lived a woman named Adan. She was in her late 30s, poor, widowed, and mocked by many in the village. Her husband, Ikechukwu, had died 10 years earlier in a fishing accident, and since then life had turned its back on her. She had no children, no family left, and lived in a crumbling mud house at the edge of the village. Her days were spent harvesting firewood, fetching water for people, and begging for leftover food from market women. Some said she was cursed. Others said her misfortunes were punishment from the gods for a sin she committed in a past life. Children were told not to go near her house, lest her bad luck rub off on them. But what they all missed was her heart. Despite her condition, Adan was kind. She fed stray animals, gave to beggars when she had nothing, and always greeted others with a smile. She never gossiped, never held grudges, and never stopped believing that one day her story would change. She had a habit of talking to herself at night. Not in madness, but in hope. She would look at the stars and whisper, "Chinik, are you listening? I'm still here. I'm trying my best." Even in her hardship, she found time to help others. She once nursed an old man who had no children when he fell ill. Another time, she stood up for a young girl accused of theft, insisting the child deserved a chance to explain. Yet no one remembered these deeds. To them, she was still just the poor widow whose presence reminded them of life's cruel hand. One fateful evening, Adan was returning from the forest with a bundle of firewood balanced on her head. The sun had dipped behind the hills, casting a golden glow over the Umwaga River. As she approached the riverbank to rinse her legs, she heard something strange, a soft, melodious cry, almost like a lullaby. She paused, ears sharp. Again she heard it, a woman's voice, faint but sorrowful, coming from the center of the river. There just by the rocks she saw her. Woman. But not just any woman. She was the most beautiful creature Adan had ever seen. Her upper body was like that of a human, glowing with bronze skin and long black hair. But from the waist down, she had the shimmering, scaly tail of a fish. Mermaid. Adan's heart pounded. She had heard tales of Mami Wata, the mystical water spirits, but never believed them. Yet here she was, real and crying. "Please," the mermaid whispered. "Help me. I am pregnant and trapped. I have no strength to return to the depths." Adan dropped her firewood and stepped into the river without thinking. Her instincts overruled her fear. The river was not shallow, but she moved through it with care. Each step brought her closer to the mysterious being who, despite her shimmering beauty, looked utterly vulnerable. When she reached Nena, the mermaid's skin was cold and her breathing shallow. The mermaid was in labor. Her breathing was shallow, and her golden eyes were filled with fear. "My name is Nena," she said weakly. "I was chased by fishermen who saw me by mistake. I swam to hide but got hurt by sharp rocks. I cannot go back without help." Adan used her wrapper to cover the mermaid and began to comfort her like a midwife. She sang softly, held her hand, and offered the little water she had in her calabash. For hours she stayed there talking to her, encouraging her, and when the time came, helping deliver the tiny baby, a boy with tiny gills, soft scales, and sparkling eyes. The moon rose over the river, witnessing a moment no one in the village would believe. When it was done, the mermaid looked at Adan and said, "You have shown me kindness when you had nothing. No one has ever done this for my kind." "I did it because you were in need," Adan said. just like any mother. Nena clutched her baby to her chest and closed her eyes. Then she whispered something into the wind. The river responded with a gentle ripple, as though it too was grateful. Nena, now stronger, placed the baby gently on her chest and looked at Adan with gratitude. "Close your eyes," she said. Adan hesitated, then obeyed. She felt something warm and wet touch her forehead. It was like being kissed by the sun underwater. She felt a strange vibration inside her bones, like a song only she could hear. "Open them," the mermaid said. When Adan opened her eyes, Nena and the baby were gone. The river was calm as though nothing had happened. She returned home confused and exhausted, unsure if it was all a dream. Her wrapper was dry. Her firewood was untouched. But her heart was different. She felt light. She lay down to sleep, her belly empty but her spirit full. That night, she dreamed of underwater cities, glowing coral palaces, and a throne surrounded by pearls. A woman in gold robes pointed to her and said, "You are remembered in the realm of the waters." Adan woke up to the sound of birds chirping cheerfully outside her window. She opened her eyes and for a moment thought she had slept in someone else's house. Her broken mud hut was now a strong clay house with a shiny zinc roof. Inside were bags of rice, yams, spices, and oil. Her sleeping mat was now a proper bed with soft raffia pillows. She stepped outside, and her small compound had turned into a mini paradise. Mango trees bore ripe fruits out of season. Her goats were fat and healthy. Her old, dry well now overflowed with sparkling clean water. She rushed to the village square, and people stared. Not in pity but in awe. "Adan, is this really you?" one of the women asked. "You look different. Younger, fresher. What happened?" Her worn-out wrapper had turned into fine Ankara fabric. Her feet, once cracked, now looked soft and healed. Her hair was black and thick, like that of a maiden. She felt no hunger, no pain. In the coming days, her land began to sprout rare herbs and fruits. Her small backyard produced gold-colored tubers no one had ever seen. Traders who tasted them paid her double, then triple. Foreign buyers came with carts of goods to barter for her produce. She hired workers from the village. She paid them generously. Women who once ignored her begged to learn how she cultivated her soil. Men who mocked her offered to guard her land. But as is common in African villages, gossip began. She must have joined a cult. Maybe she sacrificed someone. She was always strange. I knew it. Even the village priest came to pray outside her home. The women who once mocked her now wanted to be her friend. But Adan remained calm. The chief summoned her to the palace. "Adan," he said, stroking his gray beard, "tell us the truth. How did this wealth come to you?" Adan knelt and told the whole story, even though she knew many wouldn't believe her. "I helped a woman in pain. A woman from the river. She was a mermaid. I helped her deliver her child." There was silence, then laughter. "Mermaid. In our river. Nonsense." But some, especially the women, were moved to tears. Not because they believed the story, but because they saw the peace in Adan's eyes. Something had changed in her, something divine. 1 year later, the river sang again. Adan went back to the place where she first met Nena. There, the mermaid rose from the water, still glowing, her baby now grown and swimming beside her. "I came to see you again," Nena said. "You are now known in the waters as the kind one. Because of you my son lives. Because of you, we now bless your village." From that day on, Umwagu's river never dried. Fish became abundant, crops flourished, and the villagers who once mocked Adan now celebrated her. Children were born healthier. Festivals returned. Joy filled the air. Merchants from far and wide traveled to Umwagu to trade. Pilgrims came to see the famous river. Songs were composed in Adan's honor. Her name became a blessing. Adan built a school for orphans and a clinic for women. She gave to the poor and never changed her humble ways. She would always say, "It wasn't magic or money. It was kindness." Young girls came to her for wisdom. Old women praised her as a true daughter of the soil. Men who once ignored her now bowed when she passed. She lived many more years, happy and fulfilled. When she died, the entire village mourned for 7 days. And on the night of her burial, the river glowed softly, and a lullaby floated in the wind. And in that song, the spirits whispered, "The one who gave with nothing now has everything in the world beyond." Then,